Happiness is beautiful, it's a kind reality. Happiness is the highest good, happiness is free. So let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.
Welcome to the Happiness Show. This is Lionel Ketchian, and I'm here with George Ortega, and we're here to talk about happiness because happiness is, always has been, and always will be the point of it all. Today we'll be talking about happiness as a product. We're actually revisiting happiness as a business episode that we've done. So George, this is a beautiful subject and one that I know you feel is near and dear to your heart. So why don't you tell us more about how happiness as a product in business could come about?
Yeah, actually, this is a topic that I did. I think it was one of my first few shows, one of the first, I don't know, it's like the third or fourth show. We haven't done it ourselves, and I wanted to bring it back because it is so important, because it's very important to explore it. The idea is that when you think about it, everything that we buy, you know, products, services, a house, a car, going out to restaurants, going out to movies, everything that we buy has the purpose of either helping us to get happy, helping us to stay happy, or helping us to become happier.
Right.
Okay? Now, the unfortunate truth, though, is that a lot of what we buy doesn't affect that our happiness so much. As a matter of fact, you know, beyond the poverty level, as we become richer and richer as individuals and as a country, we find that our greater purchasing power, having more and more, simply doesn't make us happier. I mean, if it makes us happier, the effect is only marginal, and people who are, you know, very poor, who don't have much, could you know, in many cases they actually are much happier than people who have a lot.
It's true.
Again, you have to remember, like, the happiest countries in the world, and this is based on a survey done by World Values Surveys that is based at the University of Michigan. Ron Engelhardt. He found that I think from 1999 to 2001, the 5 happiest countries were Nigeria, Mexico, Venezuela, El Salvador, and Puerto Rico. These are not countries where people have a lot of money to buy things. So the idea is that happiness isn't, you know, we're constantly trying to buy things, trying to buy our happiness through buying things and services that often don't, you know, work, don't make us happier, when now the research is in place. The research, there's more than enough research where companies can begin to be formed to sell happiness as a product directly to consumers. In other words, we no longer have to buy something in order to hope and expect that that something will make us happier. We'll be able to buy happiness much more directly by simply learning the principles, learning the kinds of tools, the methods, the methodologies and strategies that have been proven through many experiments to raise the happiness of subjects substantially.
Okay, so you're not talking about smiley face products that you go out and buy. You're talking about the knowledge of happiness, right?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, like, this started back in 1977 when Dr. Michael Fordyce, who's like really the founder of happiness increased psychology, he's the top happiness expert in the world. And
I've got to say, you've really done a lot of work in bringing his work out to the public.
Well, yeah, and he's got his site, you know, he's got his website that, you know, you can read his amazing book on happiness, you know, all online for free. I mean, the guy is a real pioneer. He's a visionary. The researchers of today are only beginning to catch up with the work that he did back in the 70s. Back in 1977, he published the world's first happiness increase experiment, and he demonstrated that through 6 weeks of training in the first experiment, then later he expanded it to 2.5 months, people could become substantially happier by simply learning the principles of happiness, learning basically what he taught them is the characteristics of very happy people. And these subjects, after learning these principles, simply apply them to their lives. You know, they spent more time doing the kinds of things that they enjoy doing. They spent more time planning their time. They spent less time worrying. So the idea is like, happiness is, again, it's the reason we buy everything. It is the ultimate product. It's the final goal of every product we can possibly buy. And again, the technology, the research, the science has finally arrived at a point where entrepreneurs, businesses can begin to apply this learning to make a lot of money, you know, basically giving people what they most want in life.
Well, before you can give something to someone, they have to understand that they want it, need it, and value it. And I think that's one of the problems with happiness, is that most people don't know what to do with it, even if they were given it. They want it. Everybody wants it, but most people don't really value it because they don't know anything about it.
Yeah, that's very important, because like what happens is, like, there are many products that, let's say, didn't exist. For example, the internet didn't exist a while back. Wireless telephones
That's a good
didn't
example.
exist.
Yeah.
So what happens is marketers create a market for a product. They create a demand.
Right.
So yeah, basically what entrepreneurs need to do is they have to get out there on the media and explain to consumers, listen, you guys have been trying to buy all these different products. Why? To become happier, but the average level of happiness here in the United States is only 70%. We are, on average, every day happy only, let's say, about 54% of the time. Basically, the kinds of things we're buying are not making us happier. So once these marketers can explain to consumers that what they're buying is not making them happier, and explain to them that that they can make them much happier in a matter of weeks, relatively much less expensively than many of the products that we buy, then I think people will awaken to, yes, you know, I don't need this you know, extravagant car. I don't need this extravagant coat. I don't need this to spend my money in all these kinds of ways that probably won't make me happy. I can invest in a course. I can take this class. I can go to this company. I'll sit down for a few weeks of training, once in a week or so, apply the principles, and 2-3 months down the line, I'm going to be much happier. And, you know, to the extent that companies do this, companies can spring up everywhere, like Berlitz, like the Kaplan, you know.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
I like the idea. The Berlitz School of Happiness.
Linus, talk about, because you've done this. I mean, you've taught classes in happiness, actually, in colleges, and you've seen the results.
Yes. Initially, when I wanted to give my class at a college, you know, the people in charge, the professors, looked at me a little funny, but when they found out how determined I was, and when we went over the, you know, the what I'm going to be teaching, basically I got in. I was able to teach my courses at Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, and it was interesting because it was a 4-week course, and it was 2 hours a session. So in 4 weeks, 2 hours, that's a total of 8 hours. And the course ran a little under $100 to the school. That was fee. So, in a sense, if you and your loved one went out for a pretty good meal and spent a little under $100, it would only be a memory, and it is not going to give you lasting happiness for the rest of your life, right? That $100 meal or under $100 meal. So in this case, for under $100. The students that took my course, and a number of them did over the years since 1999, and I'm not giving the course right now, by the way, so this isn't about the course, but about the benefits that the course ended up giving these people. I mean, there were people with all kinds of problems that came because they're divorced, they're unhappy, you name it, you know, and they had the particular problem. And what they learned was to put the problems aside for the moment, because they'll be there for them. They're not going to just disappear off the face of the earth. They didn't have to worry about that. But to learn to use happiness as a strategy, to learn the importance of happiness, to learn what happiness really was, and then to learn how to use happiness as a benefit to enable you to cope with life. And that's what they learned. And to my astonishment, these people continue to be benefited to this day, and it's been years since they've been,
So how quickly, how soon did you see the results in them?
Well, I think I would say that the real results happened by the fourth time, but about the third time it was happening. Here's the mechanics. I would be speaking and we would have interaction the first time. And the first time I'm really introducing it. Basically, I'm really introducing that happiness is the point of it all. I prove it to them because I run down a list of what do you want, what's important to you, and then find out that at the very bottom of why you want money is you want to be happy. So when they start to understand that their wish list is nothing more than boiled down to happiness in every case, and they agree with that, and we discuss that, then they start to realize that if happiness is the primary focus, then why haven't they been happy? If this is so important to them and this is what they're after, what's wrong here? So they start seeing the value. Now, then it's the happiness decision that they now.
All right, now so basically
Sure.
you're just explaining that you just taught them, you led them through the reasoning of happiness is what they really want, and
right.
then you gave them the tools. You gave
Then
them
I gave them the
instructions.
tools.
Now,
But one other thing that was important is that I knew that most of them weren't going to believe any of this. And I told them, don't believe any of it. But what you do is you go out into the world during the week and you start acting as if you're happy and handle all your problems from that point of view. Start using the tools I'm teaching you. You don't have to believe one bit of it. Don't think it works. I don't care. Just do it and report back next week and see what's happening. Now, not everyone transformed, but a few did, and those started teaching the rest how well it worked. And then the others said, well, it didn't work for me. And then by the third week, it started working for, by the fourth week, it was all over. It worked for all of them.
all right, so now this isn't something that we're kind of like proposing as something that should be done. I mean, we are in a sense, but I mean, you've done it in this classroom setting. What I want to present is that there are people out there that are already doing this.
Right.
The person who's doing this the most expansively, who's really pioneering this in a great sense, is Martin Seligman. Yeah. Basically what he's doing, he's got a website where he presents a lot of happiness information, and he's actually training happiness coaches. He's training, because a lot of what happens is a lot of people, we all have problems, okay? But a lot of times our problems aren't severe enough so that we can, let's say, have some kind of an insurance policy pay for psychotherapy or something like that, or pay, perhaps they're just not severe that we need that, but I mean our average happiness level is 70%, so many of us just aren't very happy. So what he's doing is he's training these happiness coaches to go out there and teach people how to become happy. I mean, he's basically founding a new industry. Now, it's going to be a matter of time before these individuals will start to organize, start to pool their resources, advertise in major markets throughout the country and the world, and corporations will be formed. And so, like, again, what we're proposing isn't something that that we hope will be done in the future. It's something that's happening right now. There's actually a company in Australia that's already been founded. It's called the Happiness Institute. And again, it's not just one individual happiness coach. It's a group of people who've gotten together. They're training people through the internet. They're training people individually. It's something that's happening.
That's great.
Oh yeah. Something else that's going on is that they're beginning to discover that happiness can be sold as a product, not just to consumers, but also happiness can be used as a tool for helping businesses make more money. There's more and more research coming out that as employees become happier, they become more effective, more productive, and naturally the company makes money. So in a sense, happiness is also being used as a product to improve company profitability. So it's just spreading throughout the various domains of our consumer society.
Yeah, I mean, imagine a statement like happiness makes sense and it's good for profit. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Oh, yeah.
Happier workers are more effective. They'll probably get sick less often. There'll be better communication in a company, which is probably a main reason why there's mistakes and also why there's accidents, is people don't communicate well.
Right. Now, I want to like talk to like people who may know people who may. There are some people. I mean, we constantly tell people that if you want to go after money, fine, but making a lot of money isn't going to make you that happy. You should really go after happiness. But there are some people who won't believe us. There are some people who still just love to make money, and that's great, if that's what their passion is. So for anyone who just wants or needs to make a lot of money, a happiness business would be an amazing way to do that. For some people, it might be too early in this stage to really invest a lot of money, because really you need results. You need the results of the Seligman testing. You need the results of what's happening in Australia. Now, you can, of course, work on the results that Fordyce created and others, because, Fordyce created the happiness experiment in 1977, but then he replicated a study in 83. He had the same results. There was a New Zealand team that did their study in 1980, and since then there has been about a dozen studies that I'm aware of where they've used different methodologies and ways of helping people become happier, and they all work. The reason they all work is because happiness is basically, it can be seen as a skill, and any skill can be learned, it can be taught, and so basically all these programs just teach a person a certain happiness, methodology using these skills, and naturally happiness is so easy that they become much happier. So like for people who want to make a lot of money, it's just like happiness as a product. Happiness is the ultimate product. When people begin selling happiness as a product, it may be unfortunate for some industries. I don't know, because maybe like as people become more happy, they won't need to buy other products that they thought. For example, a lot of people buy products because they want to impress others,
self-esteem issue.
Exactly. We did a show on that. Fancy car, fancy clothes, whatever. As people become happier, they say to themselves, wait a minute. And as they buy happiness as a product, they say, I've already got this. So maybe I can put my money in the bank, invest it in my children's education, in my children's future or something, so that like people won't be wasting, because that's what they do. People waste their money on things that they think are going to make them happier that much more often than not don't. So again, if somebody wants to make a lot of money on these on this business, happiness is the ultimate product. There's no better product.
Boy, you got me thinking about it, George. I think that you're right, and it really, for me, it's just so simple. It works. I've seen it work, and I like when you said that it's a skill, because that's exactly what it is. Once you learn what it is and how to use it, it's a skill, and then all you got to do is practice it. That's another reason. If for no other reason, you can learn everything you can about happiness, just like I think I know everything about it, except for one thing. If I don't use it over and over and over and keep remembering to do it, it's not going to be with me.
Well, that's where the classes come in, because, for example, we can learn how to cook, we can learn how to play tennis, how to play piano on our own, right? But when we attend a class and when we're paying money for it and we're getting a professional teaching us, all those things combine to make the learning much more effective.
That's true. When we pay money, we get more out of it. That's true. And I agree with you. Again, if there's a market, there's a need, and there's certainly a need. I know there's a need, it's just that the demand has to come up.
Lionel, that is the key point. I'm glad you brought that up again, because how do we get this out there? I think a very important means is movie documentaries. What's his name? Michael Moore. He's pretty much developed a new genre. These political documentaries, we'll probably be seeing more of them. But these kinds of documentaries that can influence a lot of people to do certain things will be very instrumental in awakening the consciousness of people in this country and the world.
And George, you've actually come across a couple now, happiness documentaries.
I'm actually working with a person in Norway that's creating a documentary, and someone in Los Angeles who's actually beginning a documentary soon. And then I just was surfing the internet a few days ago, actually, and I learned that a team from Brooklyn has just come out with a movie called One Happy Movie, where they travel the country interviewing people, asking them about happiness and all. And then there's another team, it hasn't finished their documentary yet. I think their documentary is going to be called In Pursuit of Happiness. Basically the idea is that a movie documentary about happiness that succeeds in communicating to people everywhere that happiness is what they really need, and that the tools are now available for them to be able to buy it very inexpensively in very little time. That kind of documentary would be the most influential movie of all time.
It would, and we were talking about the fact that people like to cook. It's important to cook and eat, and that's fun. And look at all the cooking channels and all the celebrity cooking chefs that we have. And we tune in, we watch them, we laugh, we kick it up a notch and everything. But wouldn't it be nice to have a happiness channel? We have a comedy channel. We can have a happiness channel, and at least we're on on the stations with happiness, and that's important. But I think we need a whole network of happiness because people are interested in what's in it for them, and happiness is something that is of such benefit but so little known. And if people could learn a little bit more about it, they would uncover the benefits to themselves.
Oh yeah, television. I mean, it's not just because a lot of people don't see major motion picture documentaries. But if you get like happiness shows into the cable and the satellite networks, I mean. They could, actually, theoretically, they could do a lot of the work of teaching people how to become happier.
That's true.
But, there's also an advantage to having that individual learning. For example, with happiness coaches, what they'll do is they'll determine, well, what is making you unhappy? Why is it making you unhappy? And the difference between this kind of happiness coaching and basic therapy is that a basic therapist might ask you the same kinds of questions, but won't make the link to happiness. In other words, what's bothering you? All right, so we're going to work on that, but there's very, very infrequently a kind of like a guiding goal of happiness in traditional therapy. So these happiness coaches are working with individuals in a very personalized way to find out exactly where they're going wrong with their happiness and fine-tune their knowledge to be able to help them become much happier.
Yeah, I'm laughing because, and one of the reasons that therapists don't normally direct people to happiness is because basically the whole therapy profession came from Freud, who never believed people could be happy in the first place. It's only, doctors that we have recently, psychologists and psychiatrists, that are paving the way to happiness being a real option for us.
Oh yeah. All right. So happiness is a product. I mean, like again, there is like. We could. What happens? One of the problems is like, again, we get richer and richer. We work harder and harder to make more and more money, so we can buy more and more things. And these things don't work. I mean, really. I mean, above the poverty line, the more money we make and spend, the less effect it has on our happiness. So people don't understand this yet. It's like this kind of like make money, spend money. That's how I'm going to become happy. This kind of philosophy has been ingrained in our culture for decades, perhaps centuries, okay? And now we have 40 years of happiness research that documents very strongly and very clearly to know these things don't work. So,
well, what are you going to do to the economy when you get this out there?
You'll have a lot of, well, actually, that's an interesting question, because like what happens is as people become happier, they become more productive, they become more energetic. Happier people make more money. I mean, yes, happier people earn more incomes because they're better at their jobs, they're more creative, they're more they can do their jobs better.
Well, maybe we'll create a whole new industry.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's what this show. Oh yeah.
Well, the horse and buggy, when it was replaced by a car. Yes, the horse and buggy industry died, but look at the automotive industry.
Exactly. I mean, because like once happiness is sold as a product, and once companies spring up in every town, in every city, throughout not just this country but throughout the world, it'll be a totally different world. And it's not a world that has to wait decades for governments to like change their socioeconomic policies and all. It's not something that has to wait that long. You get these happiness companies teaching people how to become much happier, and people becoming happier in a matter of a few months. Right. In a matter of a few years, our world will be dramatically different.
Well, I agree with you. Now, other than teaching some of the skills that you could use in a few lessons, what else could a service like that as a business provide for people? What else could they do other than teaching them? Reinforcing it over time?
Well, yeah, I mean, that could be part of the, that could be part of
like Weight Watchers, you got to come back and get on the scale again.
But I mean, yeah, like, because what's going to happen probably is that you'll have these companies develop, okay, these companies will sell happiness, and they will make a lot of money selling happiness, because people who have a lot of money to spend, and a lot of us in this country do, they're going to buy that product. But, as people realize that these happiness principles are not difficult to understand, they're not difficult to learn, they're not difficult to implement, they will create support groups. They'll create, these companies could have refresher courses that, they could just have ongoing kinds of things. But in general, that may not be necessary, because as they succeed with teaching people how to become happier, as you have companies doing this throughout this country and throughout the world, that knowledge spreads. I mean, it will be a totally different world now.
I agree, and as you're talking about this, I think it'd be important as the educational system in the end. Maybe that's what it'll be. Well, George, that's just about all the time we have for today. Thanks very much for watching. In the future, we'll explore other topics designed to help you better enjoy life. Be good, think very well, feel very happy, and I hope you'll join us again next week here on The Happiness Show. Thanks again, folks.
Happiness is powerful. It's our underlying need. Happiness is why we live each day. Happiness is destiny. So let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.